Hello and welcome back to the Network Effect, which is a subsidiary of Mindful Mondays MKE. Today is Monday, February the 3rd, and we are sitting here with Dr. Todd Beadle. Todd Beadle has a list of accolades, and usually I pride myself on doing these interviews sort of like off the cuff, live with no questions or no comment cards, but I'm going to use my telephone today. Todd, why don't you just introduce yourself to the audience, and then I'm going to pull up your accolades so I can give all of your titles as well.
Wow, okay. How you doing? My name is Dr. Todd Beadle, and I am the proud school board president of Brown Deer School District, as well as vice president for Felician Services, and a proud life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Yes, and you know, we have Todd here because we are, of course, this is February, so we're celebrating Black History Month, as well as we're also bringing attention to Greenwood Park's collaboration with the Milwaukee Bucks. So on Thursday, February the 20th, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be hosting an HBCU night, and we're going to talk about that too, because you're also a big-time supporter of the Bucks.
Oh, yes.
And you loved the game yesterday you were just telling us about.
Oh, yeah. But then also in relation to HBCU, I am a proud graduate of Jackson State University and the Sonic Boom of the South. Thank you very much. Okay. The real Blue Bengals. All right. So, yeah. So for all of my Tennessee State people and some other HBCUs, the real Blue Bengals right here.
Okay. So as you see, he's very proud to be an HBCU member. And we want to talk about that too, Dr. Beadle. I know you just mentioned a couple of things, but you have a lot of more accolades on here that we can discuss too. And I want to talk about, just to mention some of those too. You're on the Wisconsin Child Care Administration Board member. I see Cardinal Street University Alumni Board of Directors, the Registry State of Wisconsin Childhood Care and Education, also the National Association for the Education of Young Children, also the Wisconsin Early Childhood Association, as well as the National Association of Child Care Professionals, and you did mention the Alpha Phi Alpha. Mm-hmm. How do you do all of this? How do you do this?
That same piece that you have in your hand, my phone, my calendar, is being able to make sure that, you know what, time management and being able to do that, set alerts, and being able to do it. I mean, you know, things when you have a lot of different things that you're a part of and that you're responsible for and you need to do or whatever, you've got to have a system in place to be able to do that, as well as a very understanding spouse.
Yeah, that helps a lot as well.
Yes.
You know, just talk about, were you born in Milwaukee? Like, tell us a little about your childhood.
All right, well, hey, grew up right here, born and bred, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 39th and Nash.
414.
There it is, there it is. Proud graduate of Milwaukee Vincent High School. Just Milwaukee is just this wonderful place to be able to grow up. You know, when I was growing up in the 70s and the 80s or whatever, Milwaukee was just a great place to be able to grow up, and it still is. I mean, people care about each other, even though we're a large city, but we're still small. You know, we have different pockets and everything, and we're in your neighborhood, you know, everybody knew everybody in your neighborhood. And, you know, that was something that was special in being able to grow up in Milwaukee and being able to do that. You know, like you not only had one mother and one father, you had 12 mothers on one side of the street and 15 mothers on the other side of the street when you're growing up and being able to do that. So that was just something that was special in that childhood and being able to grow up, and it kind of helps to make you become the person that you are today.
Exactly, so, like a nurturing neighborhood. Just to mention, I know I found out recently that you and Rodrick, you know, who's also the co-founder of Mindful Mondays, that you all grew up in the same neighborhood.
Yep, 3732 North 39th Street.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're right there. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that's also wonderful to know. As you said, you're an MPS graduate, Milwaukee Vincent. Everyone knows we are all here sort of sponsored by Milwaukee Tech Trojans, so let's just make that very clear. He's going to represent Jackson State, but we are the Mighty Trojans, so let's just put that out there. We're the Mighty Trojans. But just to talk about that, now you said you went to Jackson State. When you were in high school, was that like a goal of yours that you always planned to go to Jackson State? How did that happen?
Well, it wasn't a goal to always just go to Jackson State, but there was one thing that I will sit there and say. Since I was 5 years old, my mother told me I was going to college. I had no choice. You know, my mother is from Louisiana. She went to Grambling. And she was actually recruited by MPS, and she came up to Milwaukee in 1964 and worked at 4th Street, which is now Golden Meyer.
Wow.
And so she always told me I was going to college, or if I wasn't going to college, I was going to service, but I was getting out of the house.
But that's good. We need more of that too, because in some families, it's no other option. You're going to college, from a young childhood that's instilled upon you. So evidently it worked. So after you graduated from Jackson State, did you decide just to come back to Milwaukee? Did you think about relocating at any point?
Well, I thought about it. There's always opportunities when you graduate. But I had my daughter here, Tanisha, and so one of my things was that I had that responsibility.
Yeah,
so I took care of that responsibility. I graduated from Jackson State University, then I came back home and came back to Milwaukee, and I've been here ever since, except for when I was in Minnesota for 3 years. So
I'm glad that you mentioned that and sharing that with the audience, because you are a young parent.
Right.
So that's important to know too, because one thing about the podcast that we like to do is let everyone know that we're all human.
Right.
Sometimes you'll see different people, you're thinking they must have this wonderful childhood, it must have been this, that, and the other. Not saying that it was not, but that's something that could have been a little difficult being so young in college and having a child too. So that shows something about your character as well. Now you mentioned a supportive spouse, but how did all of these different positions become available to you? I'm sure there's some other things that did you have a mentor or something?
Man,
like that?
I had several mentors. I want to turn around and say that I am a proud member of Laverne Way Boys and Girls Club. I grew up in the clubs. I grew up in Laverne Way. Sam Williams was definitely an inspiration to me. Mac Weddle, definitely an inspiration to me. Bobby Ricardo, definitely an inspiration to me. And growing up in those days or whatever have you, what you did was in after school in the summer, what most parents tell you to do. You're going someplace. You're going to an after school program where you're doing that. And I grew up in Laverne Way. And one of the great things about that is that's where I learned how to swim, played my first organized football, first organized basketball, learned how to shoot pool, all of those different things. And it just ended up being a natural progression that when I graduated from college, one of my first jobs was working for the Boys and Girls Club, and I ended up working at Laverne Way under Sam Williams, becoming a program director and a director. Then I went to St. Paul, Minnesota, to become director of operations of Boys and Girls Club. Wow. So that was just kind of like one of those things that help define you. You need to make sure that you always go back to that and then give back.
Yes. I think that's a great point, because we are talking about Black history, things of that nature, and you're a history maker as well. We talked about politics, about the school board. How long have you been the president of the Brown Deer School Board?
Well, I've been the president of the Brown Deer School Board now for 4 years, and then prior to that, I was the treasurer of the Brown Deer School Board for 3 years. Prior to that, 5 years I've been the president. For 3 of those years, I was actually the only African American school board president in the state of Wisconsin.
So we're talking to history makers. This is what that podcast is about. We're bringing you history makers during Black History Month and 365 days of the week.
Right.
So that's a big deal. We're very proud of that with you too. But how do you find time for the other boards as well? Do they come to you? Is it something that you have someone to go and seek these positions for you? How does that work?
Well, a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know. So there's always the thing about a telephone call. Especially if it's an organization that you feel passionate about. As you can tell by my resume and some of the things that you were saying is I love kids. I love kids, period, point blank. So the organizations and stuff that I've actually served on boards with are actually all child-centered and family-oriented boards that I serve on and stuff. And that way, when I do have to give that time, I give that time freely. And I appreciate being able to do that and stuff, because there were other individuals that did it for me. Yeah. And so I have to turn around and I have to pay that back.
Yeah, that's a big deal too. So you pretty much stay focused on the one area that you like, which is child care or caring for the children.
And education.
And you did something in regards to coaching too, if I'm not mistaken. You were a coach as well for several years.
Yeah, I was I've coached basketball. I was a coach for Milwaukee Playground. I was a coach for SDC Lady Stars. I was a coach for Wisconsin Viking Club. For basketball, we won 2A national championships, coaching girls. Okay. It was one of the reasons how my daughter ended up getting her scholarship. My daughter Tanisha, she ended up playing basketball for Lane College and being able to do that. And I coached my son Todd Jr. and he ended up going to University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and ended up becoming a 3-time All-American.
Wow.
As well too.
The good genes.
Yeah.
You got to put the genes out there. And just to mention your son Todd, he's also going for his. He's going to be a doctor as well. Huh?
Yeah, he's in med school right now, and what he's doing his last clinicals. He's actually in Arizona right now and doing it. He's going for physical therapy and cardiac rehab. So he finishes his last clinicals in March, comes back and takes his boards in April, and he will become Dr. Todd Beadle the second.
Okay, congratulations, Dr. Beadle. So that's a big deal. We're very proud of you as well. Now, I know you want to talk about your fraternity, because I know every time I see your page, you know, we're Facebook friends. Every time I see your fraternity, see your Facebook page, you're talking about your fraternity. What made you choose that fraternity? Was it family members, or did they
it's when you join a fraternity, it's a calling, all right? So it's this mutual bond that you have in order to be able to do that. And that's what called me to Alpha: manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. That was something that resonated with me. And being first of all, servants of all, and we shall transcend all, is Alpha. And you know, if you can't be first, right? So I always wanted to make sure that was something that was important to me, and being a part of something and a legacy of individuals that want to make change, that want to be history makers, that want to resonate change, and want to be that resource for other individuals and stuff. And that's what Alpha is. Okay. That's what Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is.
And you were the president for several years as well, correct?
Well, I'm actually the president of the foundation, Seven Jewels Foundation, for our Delta Chi Lambda chapter for Alpha Phi Alpha. So I am the chair for that. And one of the things I do want to turn around and mention is one of the major events for Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and for Seven Jewels Foundation is the Young Gentlemen's Scholarship Botillion. Oh, wow. And that is a scholarship for young men that want to go to college, that are seniors, and they have to go through training on leadership, social development, have to have good grades, and what we have is a scholarship bowl for those young men. And the 40th annual one is going to be on June 20th at the Hyatt Regency. So if you have any young men, we are still recruiting young men that are seniors in high school that have over a 2.75 GPA. Please, you know, there is scholarship opportunities for you to be able to do that. And if there are any individuals, young men that are interested, I can be contacted. If they can contact Mindful Mondays MKE. Please do that, and I'll be able to have somebody in contact with you.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess in summary, we'll talk about your wonderful Milwaukee Bucks. You said you were at the game yesterday. You're a season ticket holder for the Milwaukee Bucks as well. Yeah, for several years. You know, avid Bucks fan, and I just love, you know, kind of what we do and other things that the Bucks do for the community, and being able to do that as well as just the entertainment aspect of it. You know, I was just actually laughing with my friend last night, Norman McGee, who's the director at Neighborhood House. And where else can in a major city like this you can park 3 blocks away for free and go into a venue like that? I mean, you know, it's just wonderful, and the price is right, and you know, they really come up with a great product. And then you have this gentleman right here or whatever have you that definitely makes you want to be in the place. Yes, that helps a lot. Well, you know, I just want to thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Todd. We wanted to just share with the audience. You mentioned your mentor. Let's say someone wants to reach out to you. I know that you said that they can contact us through Mindful Mondays. Is that something that you do as well? Do you take on mentees, people that you would mentor over some time if they have questions or something? Is that something you're open to?
Oh, most definitely. You know, for several of my other jobs or whatever, I was actually over mentoring programs and everything. I worked for St. Charles Youth and Family Services, Hickman Academy as a principal. Again, like I said before, the Boys and Girls Club. I worked for V.E. Carter. You know, so you know, you look at SD Social Development Commission, where I was director there for several years, and some of the programs that we had there was like we were over warning basketball, and we were over all of the SDC basketball leagues at the King Center and all the rest of those different things, and trying to give young people an avenue, you know, through sports and through recreation to be able to help with academics, as well as if they had some other issues that were going on and stuff. So most definitely, you know, mentoring is a big thing. I mentor young people all the time, and individuals that I'm with, that I collaborate with, that I call friends, and for them, we all do the same things and stuff, because it's all about trying to be able to give back to our young people.
I love that, because as you mentioned, you know, we don't hear enough about black men in education. They're always talking about a shortage of leaders and teachers. So you've heard it here on the Network Effect podcast. We have Dr. Todd Beadle. We want to thank him for joining us today, for sharing his experiences. So if you have questions or anything, please put them in the comments. We'll get them over to him. Or if you are interested in, you know, asking him some questions one-on-one, he's open to becoming your mentor possibly. So thank you all for joining us. What we're going to do, we're coming right back. We have the Milwaukee Bucks representatives here, as we mentioned, and we also also have our wonderful local artist that put this piece together for us, and that piece, Moohah Bred. He's going to be joining us. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Good.